What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the E46 Better Than an M3 build. Now, there are a lot of different aspects we need to be looking at in this build that are going to be custom modified or, things like that. Stuff that isn't originally in the E46. But I want to keep as many E46 parts in the car as possible so that if something fails, we can just go, E46 radiator, E46 this, E46 that, get a new one. I've said it in other videos, I don't want to be going and getting, I need this super custom radiator that needs someone else to customize this onto it and that onto it, blah, blah, blah. Radiators fail. Bits and bobs fail. It's just a part and parcel of having a car and a modified car. So today, we are actually going to jump into the intercooler setup on the car. A lot of people do a lot of different stuff. There's Plasma Man, if you want to go and spend $7 million on an intercooler that does what all the other intercoolers do. There's universal kits that you can kind of make to fit. Obviously on the Supra, there was a Supra kit you can just buy straight up. It's got the intercooler pipes, it's got the core, it's got everything, it just bolts on and fits. But as you E46 owners know, E46s didn't come in a turbo version. Or did they? I think you finally did. They came in a turbo diesel version. And correct me if I'm wrong, but turbo diesels run quite high boost, even factory. I had a mate whose Toyota Surf was running, I think, 18 pounds. His boost gauge may have been incorrect, but 18 pounds on stock boost, that's ridiculous. I'm aiming for 16 on this, so throwing those figures around in the air, I thought, I wonder if someone has come up with an aftermarket intercooler for the turbo diesel, and if so, can I make that work on mine? Turns out, I can. Now, I've been doing a bit of work before I've started recording because I don't want you guys to just see me like mounting things up, putting spaces in, etc, etc. Now, this intercooler here is the one that you can get. It's a China built one, it's no big brand name. There's a few different companies that actually make it, but it's very nicely put together. On the each end of the tank is actually the BMW fitting itself. So I've got and bought two of those joiners as well. Now, when I pop them on, you diesel E46 guys can tell me if this has been actually put on correctly. I don't know because I don't have one to compare. This pipe comes up on this angle, and so does that one, as in on that angle. So that one aims towards the aircon parts, which isn't great. I actually need this one to angle here to join up to the actual turbos, and I need this one here to aim out there. So in a perfect world, they'd actually be the opposites. So this one would be out, because what I want to do is come up here with this one and then into the throttle body over here. That would be the best, but we'll see what we can do. What we're probably going to do is cut them off, reclock them, weld them back on, because I do like the fact that it's like a stock joiner. We are going to pressure test it as well and make sure that it's good for, I don't know, say 30 pound, because it's never going to see anything more than that in this car. Maybe 20 pound, I don't know, probably 30, just to be safe that we know it's going to work forever. But as you can see, the radiator sits here and it actually fits in perfectly. I've got about 3, maybe 4 mil between the back of this and the front of the radiator setup. So it's spot on. Now, in the pictures that come with this kit, your fan shroud, your auxiliary fan, is meant to sit just in front of it. So it sits about there. You have to cut off the bottom corners. I'll throw up some pictures here. I actually had to cut a little bit more off to clear the top of the intercooler. But even doing that, it seems to not have worked perfectly. So I find that a lot of issues I see with JZ swapped E46s are people running track cars, people running not looking into maybe how things are designed perfectly. And what I've had is a really valuable addition to this build, which is my mate Kel, who has a lot of knowledge on kind of how things work. And instead of just going, oh, let's just make it work, he is more along on the lines of, let's make it work how it was meant to from factory, because the E46 was built in a way to work from factory. The JZ was built in a way to work from factory. So you need to be thinking about flow paths and cooling, and what did this aircon need for cooling, what did etc, etc. You need to look at all the different aspects of how things were meant to work. So this here is currently what we have. As you can see, the bottom has been cut off and it's still not going to work. That's okay. What I need to do is get a fan in here. So I'm gonna remove that grill, I'm gonna remove this fan, and I'm actually gonna install a 12-inch thermo fan, which is a push-pull setup. So it can actually push air in instead of just being on the back of the radiator and pull, in addition to my thermo fan. Sorry about the rubbish, but I've got a big pile. So I'll have the thermo fan on the back, pulling obviously, which is a 16-inch, and then I'll have a 12-inch on the front that will be programmed in to push when the aircon's on, when it gets too warm, things like that. So what we need to do today is get the 12-inch thermo on that, and then get that mounted back in place. This was fairly easy. All I did was I went to Bunnings, I got these, which are just couplers, like threaded couplers. This is a M6x1 as far as my memory serves me. I've put the mounting hardware straight back on, put that over the top. I can't undo these. So there's a thread here that comes out to about there, which this is obviously bolted onto. Each of these has a thread. That bolts onto that, and then a bolt going into the coupler. So it works really well. Now, this is a little bit flimsy-ish, but once the hoses are on, like the intercooler hoses are on, pipes, whatever you want to call them, it will be a lot more secure, and I may actually look into running another brace, but I have already come through and test fitted the bumper. I've got the M3 style bumper from, who is it? From Mars Performance, that's it. And it clears it. It actually clears by about 4 mil on this corner and that corner. And there's a big opening here, which this fan would fit in, but then when you close the bonnet, that hits it. So that's why it's not working as easy as it looks like it does in the pictures. Now, buying cheap Chinese stuff off the internet, you do run into risks of, oh, it's not gonna bolt up the way exactly like says that it will. But my main thing was, is it gonna fit here? Is it gonna fit behind the bumper? And is it gonna leave us with the ports going into the engine bay around the radiator nice and comfortably? And sure enough, it does. I did have to remove a little duct that sat here, and obviously one on the other side, but that's fine, no big deal. Now, this is in, yes, it needs a bit of customizing, but for what it is, it's, you know, it's done half the job. It's not just a universal that, oh, it's too tall, oh, it's too thick, oh, it's not thick enough, it's not, you know, this is the thickest one that you will fit in between the radiator and behind your front bumper. It's, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 inches thick, pretty good. So, I'm not gonna show you guys me chopping that into pieces. I'm gonna chop it up, mount it, and then we have to make sure that it, the shroud is correct so that when it does push, it pushes, you know, across the whole thing, not just in a small area. Let me do that, get it chucked in, and show you exactly how it works. Okay, so first we need to get this off and the fan out. The fan is held in by 3 bolts. Okay, so for the purposes of mounting the new fan, I am gonna remove all of this. But what I would like to do is keep this and this as the kind of factory setup, and then these 2 wires here, which go to the fan specifically, I will cut them and then join them into the wires going into my new fan, because from what I can see, I would say this being a 3-wire, it probably has a high and a low speed, maybe low speed for aircon or high speed for aircon, whatever it may be. This is already set up. So once we get it all kind of plugged in and plumbed in, we will find out which is positive and negative, wire that in, and then we're all good. That's pretty easy to do when it goes off for wiring, but for now, we need to get this mounted. So we will pull this all out, mount that, and then I'll put this section back in, probably with these just cut off, and let the auto sparkies know to do that at the end. I can do that stuff myself, but I'm getting this whole car rewired with a fresh loom. So, not the whole car, but the engine bay. We're done with the fresh loom, so at that point they can add this in nice and easy. Unfortunately, I've cut some of these bits out, but to be fair, I think I need them cut out anyway. There was a bit of R&D that I was doing. I was trying to get this to work, cutting out sections, etc., etc. But then when I found mounting it up and it was hitting there was no more further going after that. So, that's why we've ordered this bad boy. Now, we need to get this mounted in the nicest way possible. I am thinking we could probably do something along the lines of, that lines up, that lines up. Now look, you can see we've got a whole bunch of mounting points here. I feel like there's going to be some orientation that works nicely. I don't know. Let me have a play. I'll bring you guys back in a minute. All right, so as you guys would know, when you're trying to customize things, you take it off, put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off, put it on. And then you do that about 50 more times. Now, you would have seen at the beginning of the video, we had one of these just there. And on top of that, we had one of these. Now, that sat this intercooler from that bar right there, the lower bar, the actual like brace, to the front, exactly 100 mil. Then I went to put this on and I don't know how I didn't think, but realized I'm gonna have to put it behind there. So I've taken all this off, I've put that on, and then I've obviously put one of these back on top of the thread like so. Mounted it again, exactly 100 mil. Sometimes things just work. This conveniently did for that instance. So that's perfect. Now I'm going to measure how much gap I have between the bottom of this here to the actual intercooler. That obviously tells me how much overhang I can have over this lip before I touch the intercooler. I'd like a couple of mil in between the two, just, you know, for safety purposes, and just so it looks nice. So I'll quickly measure that, then we can go back and actually look at how we're going to mount the fan in here. Now, keep in mind, obviously, bigger hole, smaller thermo fan, we're gonna have like a moon shape gap here, which I don't like. It's not ideal, but what I plan to do is either get metal, or I was thinking even plastic, maybe plastic welding some sections in there so that it works nicely, but metal or plastic, either will do. Just trying to think what would be nicer, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it a little bit later in the video. For now, I need to mount it. I need to get it there. I may cut in here, I may cut a little corner off of the thermo. I don't know. I'll have a look, see what looks the nicest, what gets me the closest up I can, and go from there. Also, I'm sorry if I keep saying thermo fan, I mean auxiliary fan. It's just technically I bought a thermo fan that will be repurposed as an auxiliary fan. So if I say thermo or auxiliary, I'm referring to this, unless I specifically point to that. But in this video, we're doing auxiliary fan and the intercooler, not so much the thermo fan. So sorry if I get confused, I do that sometimes. All right, so looking at it, this is my only way that I can actually get it to sit there nicely. Now, I'm gonna have to cut that little corner off, and maybe some of the shroud at the back, but look at that. Mounting point, there, and one more here. So that's perfect. I can drill through there. We can use some of these mounting points they give you. They just kind of slide into there, and then you can drill a hole and screw it straight in there. What I'll probably do is drill a hole and riv nut it. I love riv nuts, it makes life easier. I also have on the back here some depth that I can go into it without worrying too much. Also, the back of this frame just goes onto the back of another metal frame, so it's no big deal. Worst case scenario, I could countersink the riv nuts in, but I don't think that's even going to be an issue. So that's great. I'm going to have to cut a little bit out here. I'm probably going to have to cut out a bit of that to line up with the top of this, but that's okay. So I'm getting pretty surgical with this grinder now. I'm just getting used to cutting things. So let's chop a bit of this off. Okay, so after a lot of mess, a lot of grinding, a lot of cutting, etc., I've got M6 riv nuts in here. I am missing one. I just ordered a new batch because my kit's running out. Honestly, guys, I think I got this kit from like eBay, AliExpress, something like that. It has saved me so much in the quality of my builds. I would highly recommend getting one of these. I think it's like 25 bucks. Go and grab one. It's the best. It puts nuts in stuff. Like, it's really good. It's just so convenient because now I can just screw that in. I will put a spring washer on there. And here, like I said, I've just bought a new kit, so I will get another one for there. But this is nice and secure now. Very, very happy with that. Now, obviously, I have to put a shroud in here. I have to put a shroud in here. I do have pinch weld coming in for the actual thermo fan over there to kind of seal off edges, and I don't think it's enough to seal off here. It's too big of a gap, so I feel like I'm just going to have to stencil this out in cardboard, cut it out in metal, and then pop it in place, which is easy. I'll just literally drill the holes there and I'll mount it in there, paint it black. It'll be fine, it'll look great. And I'm thinking that's what I'll probably just do, but I'm running out of light today, so let's hit this again tomorrow in the morning. Just before I go inside, I had to test fit, and it fits up good, boys. Fits up good. Look at this air gap underneath. Just enough, it's perfect. So the intercooler is sitting exactly where it's going to. That is as well. My only concern is when I fill the crescents, that's gonna restrict airflow, like when it's not on. I don't know, because it does have like these little doors which open up when you drive, and it did have ones down here, which you guys would have seen in the earlier picture, which obviously doesn't matter now because it's just all open underneath. I think I'm just being pedantic at this point. I just want to make sure that I do everything right, but I will fill those because worst case scenario, if it does restrict my airflow, just at driving speed, I can always just unbolt that, take them out, because it's 4 bolts, really easy. All right, cool. I'm gonna go in, get a feed, hit this again in the morning, make up some templates out of cardboard, transfer them to metal, cut them out of the metal, paint them black, drill them, chuck them in. And there we have it, boys and girls, all done. Auxiliary fan in, intercooler in. I'm just gonna screw in that voltage regulator box or whatever it is in the back, and yeah, we'll wire it up to that. Nice and easy. Just some thin sheet metal from Bunnings, painted black. Obviously I still have to put this last fitting in. I'm not going to make you guys wait till, like, I don't know, May or whenever it's due. So this is done as far as you guys are concerned. I'll throw that in, bolt it in, and we're all good. So that's going to be it for the intercooler and auxiliary fan install. I'm really happy with that. I think that's come up really nice. I am going to get Kel to throw his eye over it because he kind of has a more technical eye for how the car is meant to run, meant to be set up, etc., etc. But I think that the little block off plates there that are stopping flow will be negated by the fact that the intercooler has just constant flow, you know, through that and through the radiator. So I think that's going to be fine. And then obviously the auxiliary fan will just suck the air through, or sorry, push the air through when the aircon's on or it does get a bit too warm, which I live in Melbourne, so it's probably not going to happen, but I do run the aircon. So I hope you guys have enjoyed. I hope maybe this has helped you guys out. Anyone doing this swap, anyone wanting to do the upgrade of the, like if they've got a diesel and they're doing the intercooler upgrade, this maybe helped you guys out. I don't know, maybe that gave you some insight. But at the least, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you all in the next one. See you guys.